What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Dermy Wormy, and I'm here with a interesting video. Saw this the other day, meant to make a video on it, completely skipped my mind, and then I saw it again today because of shout out to Data Racer. But this is an interesting topic that not a lot of people talk about. I know there's a decent amount on YouTube that talk about, but it's a double, you could say I talk about it too, double standards of Hollywood, but this is a more serious double standard in Hollywood. And we have another actor coming out to speak out against it. And it's a more serious double standard than just, hey, you race change this person, but won't race change this person. You sex swap this person and didn't sex swap this. This is actually a serious topic. Before we get into this, I'm a huge fan of Boy Meets World. If it wasn't for the fact that I don't watch Disney Plus anymore, I don't use it, I am trying to find old copies of Boy Meets World. I really like Boy Meets World, and one of my favorite characters in Boy Meets World was Sean, and the interaction Sean had with his family. Particularly his brother. I really liked his brother. I thought his brother was a cool character. I know he was supposed to be like this cooler older brother, you know, the guy, long lost brother for Sean, interesting character dynamics, what have you. But I liked their character dynamics. I liked how they interacted with everybody, and I liked how he came into the show kind of, it would have been their senior year, so about not 4 seasons left, but maybe 3 seasons left, give or take a few. Give or take 1 or 2. I think 3 seasons left. But he comes into the show and he just melds perfectly with it. He joins the crew. He joins the cast. And he was a perfect connection. I really liked the actor. I really liked what he did. And I liked where he went. I liked Girl Meets World. It was a gender swapped future version of Boy Meets World where we followed Corey and Topanga's daughter. And when he came into Girl Meets World, I thought that was a cool development, seeing how he became more of a businessman, lost touch, and what have you. Why am I talking about this? Well, I'm talking about this because I like the character, I like the actor, and he's come out, did the wrong one. Bloopers. He's come out and spoke out against what was going on. Matthew Lawrence, my agency fired me after I refused to take my clothes off for an award-winning director. Now, we're going to go through this Variety article. Then we're going to go to what he said. Because what he said is somewhat different than what Variety is putting out here. Actor Matthew Lawrence opened up on April 28th, episode of his Brotherly Love podcast on a serious note, reflecting on the #MeToo movement and his own experiences with sexual harassment in Hollywood. On the show, co-hosted by his brothers, fellow actors Joey and Andrew Lawrence, the 43-year-old actor recounts his experience refusing to engage with a director involved with a Marvel project who asked Lawrence to take his clothes off during a meeting. There's been many times in my life where I've been propositioned to get a huge role. Lawrence says on the podcast, I lost my agency because I went to the hotel room where the actor alleges a prominent director showed up in his robe, asked him to take my clothes off, said he needed to take Polaroids of me, and said if I did X, Y, and Z, I would be the next Marvel character. This is reality. People have talked about this for a long time, like what they do to child actors in Hollywood. You see them later in life, they're messed up. The reality is Me Too Time's Up was somewhat legitimate, but it left a power vacuum, and what came in its place was what we have now. Like, there were some legitimate people that were harmed in Hollywood, but the Me Too movement was usurped, and they just didn't actually do anything. They virtue signaled the whole time and just stole a bunch of money. When in reality, there was tons of people that actually needed help. There's tons of examples of this. And it hurts to see this because it is a double standard. Guys go through this as well, but they're told when they go through it, they're like, you're just a guy. What have you? You're just a guy. It's not a big deal. But when women went through it, it was the biggest deal ever. But laugh at the guys who go through it. That's why they shelter up, bottle up, and they don't talk about it because they get laughed at. These are serious topics that people seem to just scoff at. And this Variety article isn't doing much justice either. Lawrence alleges that his agency, which he did not identify by name, ended up firing him because he left the hotel room. A representative for the actor was not immediately available for comment. Lawrence began his work. Yeah, we know this. He was fantastic in Boy Meets World, by the way. Matthew Lawrence shared his difficult experience during a larger conversation between his brother about the #MeToo movement, which he calls a very good thing. However, he urges that men have not received the same support as women when it comes to sharing their experiences with sexual harassment and abuse in the entertainment industry. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree because we have examples of Terry Crews. We know there's tons of directors and tons of actors that, hey, if you want this role, you gotta do some things that you're not gonna want to do, but you gotta get this role. The casting couches are still around, mind you. And a good example was, what was the movie? Don't Worry, Darling, where the director, who was also in the movie, found out that she was boinking several of the co-stars. It was a disaster. She had her own casting couches, but you don't acknowledge that. When they do it, it's fine. When it happens to a guy, it's fine. When it happens to women, it's bad. Ezra Miller probably can identify a bunch of people's nether regions because and you can see how it has affected him. The Me Too era just got rid of big power players that some of them needed to be got rid of, but it didn't do anything. It didn't solve anything. It didn't actually accomplish anything but stealing a bunch of money. Not a lot of guys, in my opinion, have come out and talked about this in the industry, Lawrence said. Now, granted, it's probably about a third of what women go through. Men go through this as well. I think our society is less ready to hear the situation is going on with men than they are with women. I kind of agree. They act like men can't be victims. They act like men they're perfectly fine. You're a straight white man. You're on top of the world. You're privileged. Anything that happens to you is justified. That is a thing. But I want to go to what he actually says, because what he says is a whole lot different than it has a different power behind it than what Variety was saying. And shout out to Data Racer, fantastic. Former child star Matthew Lawrence says Marvel Studios director propositioned him for sex in exchange for a role in the MCU. Lawrence declined and was then fired by his agency.
Whether it's another woman or another man in power, there's been many times in my life where I've been propositioned.
He didn't just say once, he said many times. And it keeps escalating from here.
To get a huge role, I've lost my agency because I went to the hotel room, which I can't believe they would send me to.
See that? His agency sent him there. His agency told him to go. This isn't a long clip, but what I'm trying to point out is the Variety article leaves a whole lot of things out, and you don't get the power behind it. Because the Variety article kind of says, oh, well, he opened on a serious note, but he didn't name names. He didn't do any of this. Probably because he's scared. And when you see this, he means what he's saying.
Of a very prominent Oscar award-winning director who shall not be named. And Data Racer has done some work on this. Showed up in his robe, asked me to take my clothes off, and said he needed to take Polaroids of me, and that if I did X, Y, and Z, I would be the next Marvel character. I didn't do that, and my agency fired me because I left this director's room. And
along those lines,
a lot of these stories.
This is the important part, what he's about to say. Okay, this is, I think, the most important part. Because he's not wrong with what he's about to say. This is how serious this topic is.
A lot of my other male friends have gone through with both men and women in this industry, but there's a double standard, and this is where I bring Terry Crews. Terry Crews comes out and says it, people are laughing at him.
Yeah. Yeah. He points out the facts. That article just says, well, you know, he was like this, and, you know, he didn't bring up all this, you know, he doesn't name names, he doesn't do this. Yeah, he basically pointed out how his life was ruined because of that. He lost his agency, and he also pointed out Terry Crews. Terry Crews came out and talked about what was done to him, and he was laughed at. There is a serious double standard. We're not joking when we talk about some of these double standards. Like, these are some serious double standards, and we just get laughed at. The men's issues get laughed at. Men's rights gets laughed at, but men go through a lot too, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And I wish more people would point out that, hey, there's still casting couches out there. You didn't get rid of them. You just hid them, and you managed to hide them a little bit better. But they still exist 100%. But that's it for today. Let me get your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it out with friends. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video and go live, guys. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.